hair days, and I'm using this Sheaffer pen from the 50s, and it has a really tiny, fine, thin hairline sort of nib, just really sweet. And but it also, has a lot of life in it, in that it can get a thick line. Not, horribly thick. It's not a wet noodle kind of a pen, but what it is a really lovely variety from the thin to the thick. And it's just really fun to draw with. It appears delicate, it just seems like it would be really scratchy and fragile, but it has this sturdiness to it that almost all Sheaffer pens have, but it just is really sweet, and it makes me want to just make lines. I don't want to necessarily draw anything with it. I just want to make lines. So I figured hair has lines in it, and essentially hair is just lines, and I thought I'd draw bad hair day. Unhappy people waking up with bad hair. Try this one. What kind of hair will they have? It's pretty bad hair, I can tell right now. This is what my hair would look like if I had any. I tend to keep my bed hair up and displayed all day long. My father once saw me on FaceTime and he said, "Do you own a camera? Do you own a comb?" I do have a comb, and I don't use it. Thank you very much. One of my favorite pictures of my dad shows him with hair going in all sorts of different directions, and I really love the photograph, and it really shows. I mean, his hair has life to it. This guy's hair has life to it. Maybe life in it. Put a little grouse making a nest. No, I didn't say life in it. I said life to it, he says to the hairdresser. A bird landed on my head. It started building a nest. Well, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to have lively hair. So anyway, this pen, back to the pen, for God's sake. Focus on the pen here. Stop wandering. The pen is just a delight. It really has this very faint, quiet, thin, which can, with pressure, be made thicker, but not too much thicker, just enough to give it the life that you want it to have. Wet noodles are for other purposes. This would be great if you had if you were on a desert island and had only one sketchbook with you. This is the pen you'd want, because you could do lots and lots of drawings. before you'd run out of paper. Okay, one last one. I've got one more piece of paper here. What kind of ad here will this be? This isn't necessarily bad here, it's just curly. Do women still have curlers? I don't pay much attention to hairdos. Come on, we can make... There we go. That's a better... better mouth than I was making on the other ones. Charles Dana Gibson is one of my heroes. Beautiful line drawings, and he made a... Boy, that's a big neck on that dame. He made wallpaper for a bachelor, and it was his Gibson grill heads. And there were maybe 7 or 8 or 6 that were repeated to be a pattern, but you look at it and they're not repeated mechanically. He just drew the same girl, 4 or 5 times on the page, and so there's always subtle differences. The lip is just a little bit this way, there's hair going a little bit that way, and it's really neat to see that he was interested enough to make it unique. I mean, this is 100 years before Photoshop, so you couldn't just cut and paste, copy, paste. It was tile, you couldn't, he didn't have a fancy button like that on his pen. It's all pen and ink work, and he would draw the same figure many times, and it just was really beautiful. And I'm sort of trying to channel my inner Charles Dana Gibson in doing this one, except I'm now sort of filling things in. I'm not actually trying to make it look like hair. I'm just turning it into a sort of a mark-making experiment, because again with this pen, I just end up deciding I want to make lots of lines. Whether the lines have anything to do with reality or not, that's immaterial. I just want to make lines. And I had an earlier video talking about drawing with a 51 because the 51 was not seductive. This nib is seductive. You want to just keep drawing with it because it's so much fun to draw with. And if I kept going, the drawing would be completely black. I have to learn how to cross hatch again. I'm a hatcher, not a cross hatcher, and I think I need to work on that. Well, I'm just ruining the drawing now, but anyway, you get the idea. having a pen that has a range of 2, that goes from 1 to 2 rather than from 1 to 10, you might think is limited, but it's actually quite nice to have only that range. It almost looks like there's not a variety, but there is. And here's the pen. It's a Sheaffer. It's a Sheaffer pen from the 50s, and has a what they called a feather touch nib, and I imagine they had some sort of advertising line that talked about light as a feather, or I don't know what. I should look it up before I turn on the camera here, do my research. But it's really quite a lovely little nib. I'm very happy I still have it. Let me zoom in here so you can see. It does have this nice variety if you press down. You have to press down kind of a lot. There's a little colic like Alfalfa had in the Argain shows. Movies. I remember my father telling me that he saw those when he was a kid, and I thought, that's impossible. They didn't have TV back then. No, I didn't see it on TV, he muttered. Ta-da! Bad hair day. Worse hair day. Really bad hair day. Oh, there's more of them here. Ta-da!